Hey there, it's Shauna. Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for August 20th. So this week is all about paradox in play, and I've titled it that because this week we have a lot of paradoxical energies happening. We have a full moon in Pisces, and then we also have an aspect involving Saturn, structure, and Uranus, which is about change. So very different energies at play. And then, as always, I have some tips for you, 3 tips to help you integrate all of these energies that feel very different this week. So let's get started. The first thing that's happening is the sun will move into the sign of Virgo. So this means all of our Virgo birthdays will happen. And then when the sun does this, it'll move into the early part of the sign of Virgo. And so it will immediately create a trine with Saturn and Uranus. And so this is a part of the full moon that I'll speak about in just a moment. But a trine between the sun and Saturn and Uranus creates a certain effect of changing a system. Saturn, the planet, symbolizes structure. It symbolizes the things that we're building, tangible things like your workflow, your home, your family life, like the actual structure of your life that you can point to and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, these are the things that I do in my life. The things you can name. And the boundaries also that you hold yourself accountable to. And then Uranus is about changing things. Uranus is about changing the system and about just doing things differently. Uranus is about revolution, innovation, revolution. And so there's this interesting mix of support to change a system in your life. And this may even be just like a new awareness around needing to change a system because the sun symbolizes what we're consciously aware of, its ego and identity. And so this is something important to look at. And again, it's a trine. So a trine is a more supportive aspect. It's where things just flow. And so I want you to notice where it feels like there's change happening in your life now, where you're being supported in that way. The other aspect that's happening this week that's a bit more challenging is we'll have Venus square Pluto. And so Venus is about relationships, it's about love, beauty, harmony, sex, but it's about ultimately how it is that we socialize with one another, how it is that we connect. And then Pluto is about the birth, death, and rebirth process. Whenever there is an aspect involving Pluto, we're asked to really be honest with ourselves. We're asked to go into the truth of the matter and to do a little bit of psychic digging, some reflection, and sometimes to let go of some things so that something new can be created. And so what does that mean with Venus-Pluto? I feel like this could mean getting really honest with yourself about your relationship dynamics. Venus is in the sign of Libra right now, so it's like extra relationship oriented because Venus is in the sign that it rules, which is Libra. Libra is also about partnerships and how it is that we partner with one another and how it is that we socialize, how it is that we depend on each other. And so I want you to notice this week, like, how do you connect with other people? How do you create boundaries? How do you trust? And the people that you trust, are those people worthy of your trust? Are there any issues around resentment or guilt, which are Pluto themes, that you want to work on this week? Anything that you want to process around that? So that's that. And then, of course, we're having a full moon in the sign of Pisces. So this full moon is exact on Sunday, the 26th at 4:56 a.m. Pacific time at 3 degrees of Pisces. And so remember I said earlier that the sun is just moving into Virgo. So the sun, that means the sun is at 3 degrees of Virgo during this full moon because full moon is always when there's an opposition. So this full moon inherently involves this trine of Saturn and Uranus. So full moons are a time of celebration, a time of culmination. And because we have the Saturn-Uranus trine, I feel like there's it's like maybe something that you've been working on changing comes to fruition. or you've been trying to figure out a change, or it feels like there's been a little bit of tension and then things can finally click into place, or you have a sense, an awareness of how things can click into place. So let me know how that works for you. It's always curious to hear from you on how these things are actually manifesting in your life right now. But this full moon, definitely, like, you're getting down to business and you're celebrating what it is that you're creating in your life. So I have 3 tips for you to really make the most of this week. Tip number 1, I want you to ask yourself, where do you want to restructure? And so this is the Saturn-Uranus trine. Where do you want to restructure something in your life? And tip number 2 is to do some self-care Wednesday through Saturday. So that's super important leading up to the full moon, because the 3 or 4 days before the full moon, we're more tender, we're more, typically people feel more emotionally intense. And so whatever it is that you need to do, whether that's extra meditation, extra yoga, extra self-reflection, that can be really helpful to process all of the emotions that come up during the time prior to the full moon. And then during the actual day of the full moon, I find that there's kind of like this sense of relief and exhale. Tip number 3 is to do your psychic hygiene this week. And so what I mean by that is whatever it is that you need to do to feel right psychically, especially if you're a very sensitive person. This full moon is in the sign of Pisces, so we're all going to get a dose of that psychic-y kind of energy. But, do you have a meditation practice? Do you have a practice of clearing your energy? And that can be clearing your mind, clearing your thoughts through going for a run or a swim or something like that. That can be meditation, whatever it is that works for you. Do that this week. Extra psychic hygiene. And then I have, I'm going to pull a card for us, and I want to read a quote for you also that I thought was really sweet for this week. So this is by Naomi Wolf. And she wrote The Beauty Myth. For I conclude that the enemy is not lipstick, but guilt itself. We deserve lipstick if we want it, and free speech. We deserve to be sexual and serious, or whatever we please. We are entitled to wear cowboy boots to our own revolution. And I thought that was really perfect for this combination where we have the Saturn and Uranus, which is about like doing what it is that you want and changing something. And then the Venus-Pluto, where there can be a feeling of guilt or resentment that comes up. And how, I like how she talks about that, like in this context, she's talking about beauty and makeup. How it's not the lipstick that is the bad thing that creates the guilt. It's an inside job. And that just happens to be the thing that brings that up. And so I want you to notice those things this week that bring up feelings for you, because often the feeling is already there, if that makes sense. And I'm going to pull a card for us. So if you have a question that you want to ask, you can think of that now, or this can just be a general energy for the week. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I find this perfect for Pisces. This is the 7 of Cups. So the thing with the 7 of Cups is it's about options and illusions. So very perfect for the Pisces full moon, because Pisces is also related to where it is that we are fantasizing about something, and where there is reality and where there is illusion. And so with this, the theme that I'm getting from this card is to make your choices wisely, because things are not always as they seem. And it may feel like there's a lot of options. The thing with the Seven of Cups is that there are a lot of options, but at the end of the day, this card says you have to pick one. And so I think also with this card, it's like, are you going to pick something that is like a known devil or an unknown devil, like with the little one where you're like, I don't know what that is. And so I think only you can do that. But I think this card is definitely saying that there are a lot of options, and to keep that in mind and stay flexible and choose wisely. So that is your horoscope for the week. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please share it with a friend who you think would enjoy it as well. And then also other announcements. So I'm taking a break from social media. So if you like following me on Instagram and Facebook, I'm sorry I won't be there for a little while, but I know that a lot of you really appreciated my weekly moon signs post. So I will be continuing that, and I'll have a link below to where you can sign up to get that by email if you enjoy it. And so that is just a little image where I'll keep making those where it says each day what sign the moon is in and what that means and how to use that. So just a little simple resource that I still want to keep providing to you even though I'm not on social media. So you can find that on my website. I also have a new website now, so it's neofeminineastrology.com. So again, I'll link that below, or you can go to neofeminineastrology.com. And that's all for now. I'm wishing you an amazing week, sending lots of love, and I will talk to you soon. Namaste.